Martin Luther's dream was to stop racial discrimination and bring unity to the world. He wanted a world where all generations could foster positive societal change. To bring this dream to life, we must educate and spread awareness about racial injustice, promote equality and justice, and engage in civil disobedience. In order to create a path towards the dream, we must educate ourselves and others. We must engage in books, articles, podcasts, documentaries to understand multiple stories. We must engage in diverse perspectives, including those that challenge our own beliefs, because the single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is that they are not true, but they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story. Only when we educate ourselves can we educate others on diverse perspectives of injustice and racial discrimination. Although parents might think about racism and discrimination with their children, the likelihood of that is rare or not at all. Nevertheless, when we stay silent, the younger generation will think that racism does not matter, but racism affects all people. When we educate, we must consider our race and nationality, since we will have different experiences encountering racism. The racism African Americans encounter differs from what Mexican Americans encounter. Both Mexican Americans and African Americans share the same history of marginalization. Their experiences differ. For example, language. Since English is the primary language for African Americans, they do not face language-based discrimination in the same way that Mexican Americans do. Only when we educate and understand racism can we advocate for equality and justice. Speaking out against injustice, fighting for equality and justice, helps unify people together about injustice marginalized communities. You can personally engage in conversation, share your own story. You can bring to light the life events regarding inequality and justice through social media. Social media platforms have served as a form of social activism for many years. The use of social media is a powerful tool that can further a common cause. For example, the death of African-American George Floyd, the Minnesota Police Department filed officers guilty of violating civil rights, leading to the devastating death of Mr. Floyd. The Minnesota officers violated Mr. Floyd's constitutional rights to be freed from an officer's unreasonable force when being cooperative. This whole event was captured on camera by a bystander who then posted the video online. This blew up across all social media, resulting in people voicing their concerns online. This unfortunate event led to many protests across the country, including in Los Angeles, New York, Boston, Louisville, and Kentucky. Martin Luther King's dream for all racial equality at Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., Martin Luther King said, "We can never be satisfied as long as a Negro is a victim of unspeakable horrors of police brutality. Civil disobedience is a practice we participate in, for our voice to be heard without resorting to violence." Martin Luther King believed, "In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the bitterness and hatred." Martin Luther King envisioned a world where equality and justice be served without violence. The protests inspired by Mr. Floyd's encounter with police brutality led to many small businesses burning down, leaving devastating damages and injuries. We must be guilty of wrongful deeds. We must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Because peaceful protest gives bloom for a coalition, we must prevail over violence and stand for equality. For Mr. Floyd, justice was served, but to the extent in which it was is arguable. By participating in civil disobedience, protesters can promote Martin Luther King's ideology and gain support for the fight for justice and equality for all. By implementing these changes and improvements, we can succeed in bringing Martin Luther King's dream to reality across all generations and the education and awareness of racial discrimination foster an opportunity for growth and understanding. We are strengthening the power to advocate for equality and justice by participating in civil disobedience, but only when we move towards positive change.